Kirby Air Riders. I still can't believe this is a real game. For those of you not enlightened or just need a refresher, Kirby Air Riders is a sequel to HAL Laboratories' GameCube title Kirby Air Ride, not to be mistaken with Kirby's Air Ride, the N64 game that got cancelled, which definitely isn't confusing or makes me feel like an intoxicated dyslexic. Reading comprehension aside, what I'm about to say is gonna surprise no one, but Kirby Air Riders is 2025's best kart racer, and it's not even close. False philosophers and agenda advocates will try to sway impressionable individuals into thinking Mario Kart World is a bad game because they suffer from a critical condition called being bad at the game. However, society's top leading scientists have shown how fun and crazy World's new mechanic is alongside what it offers, but it is important to point out that it's been over a decade since we got a new entry in the series alongside the sudden shift in feel, compared to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is a topic that can honestly get its own video. Let it be known to Sonic scholars before I get crucified that I did try out Crossworld's free demo to get a feel for the game, but it just didn't keep my interest other than the funny picks for crossover characters. It's alright. Anyways, to get the whole picture, we gotta briefly talk about the beginning because for the most part, Air Rider's DNA is almost identical. OG Air Ride had 3 game modes to play from, including the expected racing mode that I will talk about. But Kirby Air Ride really took that name to heart because Kirby was the only playable character in that game outside of King Dedede and Meta Knight, who had to be unlocked and couldn't engage with the copy ability mechanic and City Trial. Air Riders changed this by essentially saying, everyone is here. Well, almost everyone. It's not easy being an artist. Not only that, but everyone can use the copy abilities and ride on top of any of the variety of stars available, which is crucial to get the most out of Air Rider's core gameplay. Gameplay is very simple at surface value, building off of Air Rider's one button, one stick control scheme, where your stick's movement corresponds to the rider's position on the XY axis, and is how you perform quick spins, while pressing the A button would act as your brakes, fast falling, charging boost, inhaling enemies, and using your copy ability. Air Riders expands on this by adding a special button, meaning most players can go from what a competitive Smash player uses to an actual controller. You think that what I just described would feel eldritchly bad to control, but it's actually pretty smooth and intuitive, much like its gameplay and map design. So unlike other games in the genre, Air Riders doesn't have random items to use in each course, except for a certain game mode. Oh, but we'll get to that one. Instead, opting for static enemy spawns with abilities to use as the race goes on, which is important since damaging enemies will give you a varying speed boost depending on how many targets were hit. This includes other players. So on top of cutting off resources from other players while also potentially slowing them down with attacks, Air Riders rewards you heavily for playing strategically and investing time into learning patterns, which can be said about other kart racers or games in general, but it feels more visible in Air Riders' case. Each racer does leave behind a trail that speeds up those left behind and can be seen as a sort of comeback mechanic, but it places agency both on the players in the lead to shake racers off by planning their routes, and those behind to adjust on the fly to come back from the place of disadvantage. Specials can also be seen as a comeback mechanic since your gauge increases depending on whether you attack, have been attacked, and depending on how far you are compared to the others. But I think it depends on the characters since some specials are better than others, and once you have your special, you're on a timer to use it before you lose it. That's not even taking the rider star combos and how they work into consideration. Each of the 21 riders has their base stats, specials, and traits unique to them except for some of Kirby's chromas. For example, Rick is fast on the ground, capable of making sharp turns, and someone like Starman excels in the air, and Cappy can take a hit for free before he becomes forcefully circumcised. Paired with one of the 22 machines to choose from, each of their own having traits and gimmicks like the bulk star needing to charge up almost to full to use, and the transform star swapping from a wheelie with good grounded mobility to a gliding star when quick spinning, that is 462 possible combinations. Some combos are better than others, but they do offer a lot of variety and playstyles to experiment with, as well as keeping the game from feeling homogeneous. My favorite combo being Starman and the Wing Star. I haven't mentioned the stages yet, but they're great. Each stage is distinct and has some elements that make certain machines better, whether it be the cliffs, curves, obstacles, and the sharp turns. But I think it's pretty telling that I don't outright hate any courses other than the Nebula Belt for being straightforward, boring, and something that could honestly be copied and pasted into another game. Granted, I do lean towards a playstyle where you try to stay in the air for as long as possible when playing, so there is that to consider. But I think I've gushed about Air Riders racing for long enough and we'll move on to Top Ride. So Top Ride is a game mode. Everything that I said before, it still applies. Well, okay, half of it still applies. Instead of having enemies and specials, it replaces them with random items and copy abilities scattered all over the maps. while also playing from an isometric perspective. It might seem like I'm disrespecting Top Ride, but I actually like this mode in short bursts. It definitely still feels like a side in Air Rider's catalog, but that's not a bad thing. Games tend to be pretty short but chaotic, some even being under a minute depending on the map. Admittedly, Top Ride is the mode that I played the least since it makes it difficult for me to see Starman with my old man eyes, but it is a nice palate cleanser, so I'll just leave it at that. Sorry, Top Ride connoisseurs, for not having your acquired taste. All 4 of you that I see when I'm queued up. And before I talk about the main event, I'll briefly go over Road Trip, the campaign of Air Riders. To be blunt, Road Trip is a static mission mode where you get to collect stats, build a power fantasy of a star while occasionally getting cutscenes and finding out each star has a trapped soul inside of them, feel pain, and cry when mentally abused, much like customer service workers. There's a good amount of variety when it comes to missions you play, ranging from time attack, killing bosses, and surviving for a specific amount of time. A single run can take a few hours to complete, but it's fun and you won't go through all the Road Trip's content on your first playthrough, so it encourages you to return. Okay, I think I've stalled for long enough. It's time to talk about City Trial. It is in no exaggeration when I say City Trial feels like a chaotic ADHD monster truck destruction derby in the best way possible. 16 players, 5 minutes, 1 big island. The game plan is to collect as many stats scattered across the map and swap to whichever star you think will be the best for a selection of 4 random stadium events once time is up. But that is a gross simplification, and City Trial is anything but simple. Damaging other players in City Trial will force them to drop some of the stats they picked up, and on the right of your screen is a bar indicating your current star's health at all times. And much like American healthcare, all it takes is a small sign of weakness to rob you of everything you have before shortly taking your life. That being said, City Trial isn't just some simulation for Planet of the Apes. There are some random events that can happen at any given moment that range pretty wildly. Some events are kinda lame or suck, like the one that makes the ground slippery, or the event that turns you into an EDP fan. But on the other side are events like bosses spawning on the map that reward a big haul of stats to players that deal the killing blow, as well as quick derby races and battle arenas that give something to everyone that joins. Events do change how players behave, which means keen-eyed gamers can take advantage of Pavlovian players and take them out when blindly chasing objectives. Speaking of objectives, there's always a chance that a hidden object might show up in the form of a legendary machine part scattered in boxes or held in places that are hard to reach. Classic Air Ride gave us 2 legendary machines in the form of Hydra and Dragoon, and Riders expands this by giving us 2 more in the form of Leo and Gigantes. What really keeps City Trial fresh is that all of it is randomized, and sometimes stadium events can even be predetermined, making focusing on certain attributes easier. Aggressive play can be just as rewarding as exploring Skya, but being the fighting game sweat that I am, going on the offense is easily more fun. Like, you can't tell me popping Starman's special to chase someone down and destroy their machine with a Superman punch, or crashing into someone with Speedlord LTG Rick like a California driver isn't gonna be fun. Even with that said, nothing hits quite like assembling the legendary machine after stomping little Tim Tim's toy car and ascending into heaven itself. Or at least I would have said, if Gigantes didn't exist.
Gigantes!
The sheer insanity of turning into a literal tank of destruction and fighting everyone like a fucking planetary threat raid boss? It is absolutely euphoric with each player that gets deleted.
Because if I'm not beating a 12-year-old at a game made for children, then what's the fucking point?
City Trial truly is an experience. I know I'm missing a lot of things like the amazing sound design, how addictive the fast-paced gameplay really is, the option to customize machine designs and the soundtrack. Hell, even the UI is charming and just oozing with personality. Michiko Sakurai's work truly is one of a kind. And if that last name sounds familiar, that's because Air Riders was directed by none other than Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of the Super Smash Bros. Series, and I guess he made Kirby. I'd like to point out how Sakurai said Air Riders is a complete package with no plans of DLC, and the dev team will be disbanding to work on other projects.
Smash probably.
Which in some ways is kinda sad, but it's honestly relieving to hear. Air Riders already has a lot of content packed in it and a lot of customization options for more ways to play. You could theoretically play Top Ride matches for 99 laps until life starts tumbling down. As funny and stupid as it sounds, Kirby Air Riders might be my game of the year for 2025, which is insane to say considering how stacked the year was. But did I mention it? This game has Starman? Because it has Starman. These games don't have Starman. Hey there, if you liked the video, you should consider liking the video and subscribing. It lets me know to make more content like this, and it keeps me motivated. Did I mention it's free? Until next time.